SkyCity could temporarily have its gambling licence suspended after a complaint from a customer who says the casino didn't do enough to stop the problem gambler. So where's the line between host and personal responsibility? For more, we're joined by Problem Gambling Foundation's Andre Frood and Auckland City Councillor Josephine Bartley, who has a personal connection to gambling harm. We're really appreciative of you both coming in, and I can see, Josephine, for you, this is really, really personal and really emotional. What's got you so emotional this morning?
I think it's because this is very personal, because it was my mother that was a problem gambler, and I think a lot of people, like I read, 1 in 5 New Zealanders will be affected by problem gambling, and I think it's major. Like, you know, it took my family to hell and back, so it's definitely personal. And I'm trying to be a professional counsellor, so
no, but
question.
But I think this is the thing that people often don't think about, right? They don't necessarily know of the impact to the people around the problem gamblers. Maybe I'll ask Andre about that. This is huge. The ramifications for problem gamblers is massive, Andre.
Yes, and firstly, I want to acknowledge the bravery.
Absolutely.
Of Josephine for coming forward and sharing this story, because it is deeply personal, and it shows the impact that harmful gambling can have on, you know, the wider whānau, and also on our society and our community.
And taboo? Are we not talking about it enough?
Oh, you're absolutely right. We don't talk about it enough, and there's so much stigma and shame around it, and we want to try and break down those barriers. So brave people like Josephine coming forward and sharing these experiences is really helpful, because it helps other people and it helps New Zealanders understand that this is a problem, and it's about addictive pokie machines and harmful gambling products, not about the individual.
I'm going to give you a moment, Josephine, all right? I'm going to talk to Andre for a little bit. Talk to me about the significance of this potential suspension for SkyCity. How massive is that?
Look, it's huge, really, and it's great that the DIA have taken this step, because it sends a clear signal to all gambling operators out there that if they don't meet their host responsibility requirements, then there are consequences, and they can be tough.
Okay, let's talk about that. What are their host requirement responsibilities?
Well, for SkyCity, they have a host responsibility program that they write themselves, and it's applicable for all their casinos. It's legally required to be reviewed every 3 years, but it outlines, you know, what they will do essentially to keep their patrons safe from gambling harm. Now, part of that host responsibility program is continuous play, and SkyCity in their host responsibility program say that someone who's gambling continuously for 5 hours without a 30-minute break, that there should be some sort of intervention. We say that's too high, and research tells us that's too high. It should be around about 3 hours or less. But that's an example, you know, continuous play is an example of, you know, where harm can happen.
Because people would be shocked, I think, to know that people were sitting in that casino for 5 hours, continuously pushing that pokey button before anyone steps in to do anything about it.
Yeah, the threshold's far too high.
And what happens in the meantime? How much money do people potentially lose in that?
Oh, a lot of money, and you know, it's not just about the money, it's about them getting into that zone, an addictive machine. They're sitting in that zone, no clocks, you know, in an immersive environment. You know, it can be really, really harmful.
Yeah. And when you talk about money, like, I often joke that my family are shareholders of SkyCity because, like, we lost our family home because, you know, Mum mortgaged it to the hilt, and it all went into the casino. And I wonder how many other families have lost their family homes to SkyCity, to the casino. So I hear, you know, the 10 days, and I just think, you know, what's that word? Comeuppance. Because they've exploited so many families for so many years. I know people talk about personal responsibility. If you are a family member of someone who has problem gambling addiction, my advice to you is to reach out and get help, and because you're going to need it, because it's like they can't control it. And, you know, you as a family, everyone tells you got to let them hit rock bottom, but it's very hard for you to see someone that you love hit rock bottom. And so you're going to try and do everything you can to help them. We did everything we could to help, but in some places you're kind of enabling. So
is it that tough? Because some people would look at you, Josephine, and go, you're a smart lady. Why couldn't you just get your mum to stop? Why did it get to the point where she lost her house before anything happened?
Not just lost her house, she lost everything. And, you know, you do what you can. You control their budget, you pay their bills, but it is an illness. There is nothing you can do to make them stop. They just keep going and going. She would be there for days. We would go looking for her. We'd find her car in the SkyCity car park. If not SkyCity, then at the pubs with the pokie machines. And this went on for years.
We touched on that rate of continuous play in SkyCity, say 5 hours, we'll step in and we'll do something about it. What do you make of that? Knowing what your mum went through and how long she might have been there for, is 5 hours too long before intervention is required? I
would agree with what Problem Gambling Foundation say, that 5 hours is too long. But then again, you know, people go there for days. They're there for a long, long, long time, and they're just constantly putting money in. You know, she was working. That's why she had the money to be able to fuel her addiction. It wasn't until we lost the house that we realised it was so bad, and then tried to step in and kind of manage it. But it's an illness, and what is hard is because she passed away 4 years ago, and what is hard as a family member is you hold on to that resentment and that anger. And so I'm hoping that families, you know, get the help that they need, because they're going to need it, but learn how to figure out a way to forgive them before it's too late.
Josephine touched on something though, Andre, which is that people will say, where's the line between the host responsibility and personal responsibility? Because those people do make a choice, even though it's an addiction, they make the choice to cross that threshold and go into a casino and sit there for up to 5 hours or even longer and push that button. That is their decision that they make. What do you say to that?
Yeah, that really pushes my buttons, that one. I think because what people don't understand, particularly with pokie machines, is that the choice is actually taken away when it starts impacting your brain, and that's what happens. It's like, you know, a dopamine hit, and pokie machines are designed to be addictive. So once somebody starts gambling, and if they're gambling regularly, they might start off doing it for entertainment or social reasons, but once they actually get addicted, their brain is telling them, you know, gamble more, gamble more. The pokie machine's got bells and whistles that happen when you've nearly won, even if you haven't actually won. And, you know, that all helps to sort of keep somebody sitting at that machine for long lengths of time. So I think the choice then goes once somebody's addicted. And
the bar will cut you off if you're too drunk. They stop serving you.
That's right.
When you're intoxicated. The same should be with pokies. It's the same thing. There should be some way to cut you off.
This all came about because this person complained to the Department of Internal Affairs saying, not enough was done to stop me, and I had a problem, and I suffered because of it. Josephine, I wasn't aware. You weren't aware that people can actually make a complaint like this to the Department of Affairs in the first place.
And you know, as a family member, you do everything you can to try and you know, control their addiction, which you can't. But knowing that was an option, I reckon so many families are going to use it now.
Although, Andre, this is so rare. You and I were talking just before we came on air. In your time in the Problem Gambling Foundation, you've never seen a case like this.
Where they've suspended a licence? No, not in my time, and I've worked at PGF for 14 years. So in that time, this is a clear signal, you know, to all gambling operators that there can be consequences of not providing this host responsibility, and it's a legal requirement.
I think the last time was back in 2006. The Dunedin Casino had to close for 2 days for failing to take adequate action over a problem gambler. It was found to have allowed a woman to gamble $6.6 million over 3 years.
Right.
What does it say, though, about the state of affairs and where this industry is at, that this is only really the second time in that many years since we've had this kind of action?
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to see more of this kind of action. You know, that story to us isn't unusual. People sitting at a pokie machine for 10, 15 hours is not unusual. We hear it all the time. Something needs to be done.
Josephine, Auckland Council's considering some bylaws tomorrow?
It's very limited in what it can do. It doesn't control or regulate casinos. But since 2012, Auckland Council has been submitting to government for more power to do something about gambling, to do something about gaming machines. All we can do really is the sinking lid policy.
How's the whānau doing?
Oh, we're fine. Like this was, many years ago.
Yeah.
But it's you don't really get to talk about it because you don't talk about it. It's humiliating and embarrassing, and people come at you with, well, you're a smart woman, why didn't you see this? You can't.
No.
You can't see this coming until something as bad as a mortgagee sale happens.
Well, thank you so much, Josephine, for sharing your story. It's really brave, really, really brave. And I think it will resonate with so many people out there. Andre, what are you hoping to see?
Oh, so many things. I have a long list, of course, but obviously we want people to come forward and seek help if they need it.
Andre Frood from the Problem Gambling Foundation and Auckland Councillor Josephine Bartley, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Maddie.
Thank you.